Yurima Wellness Consultancy is here again talking about the stages or phases of addiction. Addiction is one of the crises we have here in our generations, especially the young generations, and so we have to fight with it up to the last moment to see whether we can save our youth to come out from these addictions. Okay, now we have to I'm here to talk about the phases of addictions, the problems caused by those phases, and how they relate to each other. In the first phase, we will talk about the first phase of chemical addiction can be labeled the prodromal phase. In this phase, casio or social use of substance begins to change, and the first signs of dependence can be started. In this early phase, the following behavioral stages generally occur: increase of tolerance, first blackout or loss of significant time to drug use, sneaking drinks or drugs, preoccupation with drinking or drug use, gulping drinks or hurried ingestions of chemicals, avoiding reference to drinking or drug use. The first symptom noted in the prodromal phase is an increase in tolerance. Tolerance can be defined as the adaptation of an organism to a drug so that the same dose repeated produces less and less of an effect. Physiologically, the brain and central nervous system adapt over time to the effect of almost any psychoactive substance. Therefore, the user must increase over time the amount of the substance or the frequency of use to achieve the sought after effects. Counselors should ask about any changes in the amount of frequency of drug use to establish the symptoms of tolerance. The second symptom in this phase is the onset of blackout. A blackout isn't unconsciousness. The user remains awake and active, but he later doesn't remember what was said or done while he was using. It is an indication that the user was able to ingest enough of the substance to anesthetize the part of the brain that processes short-term memory. Blackout do not occur with all categories of substances, but they are prominent feature of alcohol abuse. A single report of a blackout would not necessarily indicate a pattern of abuse. Repeated episodes of memory loss are the distinguishing features. The third behavioral symptom is sneaking drinks or drugs. This often means that the user will produce by drinking or using before a social gathering in order to assure that she has enough. It also means that the user is stockpiling her drugs or hiding them from others who might share them. The user typically experiences discomfort or irritabilities with others who are not keeping up with the user's rate of drinking or using drugs. The fourth symptom involves a cognitive change in which the user becomes more preoccupied with the time spent using. Behaviorally, it is manifested by social plan that increasingly focus on the opportunity to drink or use, leaving work early to have extra time to drink, becoming irritable if there is any interruption in the time set aside to get high, and an increased amount of time and effort spent in assuring that the user has plenty of alcohol or drugs available. The fifth symptoms are more hurried ingestions of drugs or alcohol. Is an extension of the development of tolerance. Users become concerned that they won't have enough of the substance to relax or get a boost, and use more quickly to get a higher level in their system. Nearly all of the behaviors in the first stage can be summarized by describing the user who might develop a serious problem as the one who must have a drink and have it fast. Okay. The final symptom in the prodromal phase sets the stage for denial. The user begins to feel uncomfortable with others. Comments or questions about the stages in her pattern of drug or alcohol use and avoids confrontations. She begins to estranged herself from others who might express concern about her use and avoids questioning herself about the change in her relationship with the substance. Then phase 2, the crucial phase. In the middle of crucial phase, the substance abuser experiences some of the more obvious and pronounced behavioral stages associated with addiction. The phase is labeled the crucial phase because it offers the most hope for an intervention in the growing physical and psychological dependence before some of the more severe medical and social consequences enters the picture. It is also during this phase that family and significant others usually become more aware of the user's growing dependence on drugs or alcohol. In this second phase, the following behavioral symptoms generally occur: loss of control of substance abuse, denial and minimization of use, confrontation of by others, behavioral loss of controls, guilt and remorse, this is depressions, periodic abstinence or losses in patterns of use, losses, friends, divorce, job, financial, setbacks, normal routines, willpower. Then medical and physiological interventions. May seek medical help for second interventions. Growing alienation and resentments, loss of friends, divorce, loss of job, financial, all those. More frequent substance use, loss of willpower, loss of self-respect, abandonment, mostly in spiritual values. You see somebody now started to be even dirty, started even the hairs are unkept. The first symptom, loss of control of the substance, is often misunderstood and poorly defined. In the dynamic of addiction, loss of control means loss of predictability. For example, an individual who is abusing alcohol begins to experience times when he drinks more than he intends. On one night, he may have only the 3 beers he planned to drink after work. On the following night, the same plans falls apart, and he drinks until he passes out. The users cannot predict with any certainty when he will be able to stick to the plan and when he will use more than he intended. More than good. The next 5 behavioral symptoms will be considered together since they usually occur as part of pattern of confrontation and denial. At this point, changes in the user's behaviors related to drugs or alcohol is generally more obvious. While intoxicated or recovering from a binge, the user is more likely to become aggressive, impulsive, extravagant, or otherwise unpredictable in her behavior. If confronted, the user is likely to insist that she can control it and stop anytime. In fact, the user may quit for a brief period of time to prove she has control. Guilt feeling may begin when the user is confronted by the result of some harmful behavior that occurred while she was intoxicated. Missing a child's birthday because the user was drinking with friends at the bar instead of picking up the birthday cake and going home as he had promised. Fear sets in, followed by flashes of remorse and sometimes aggressiveness or isolation to keep others at a distance. The consequences of the user's action while using are increasingly difficult to minimize, rationalize, or deny. The final group of 4 symptoms in the crucial phase outlines some of the more overt consequences that users experience as the addiction progresses. The more overt losses include loss of friends, divorce, loss of a job or a financial setback, loss of other interests such as hobbies or leisure pursuits, or loss of normal daily routine that does not revolve around use. Other less clearly observable losses include the loss of ordinary willpower, loss of self-respect, and an abandonment of moral or spiritual values. Often during this phase, the user experiences some acute medical consequences related to his use and will seek medical interventions for secondary symptoms, problems that are secondary to the drug's alcohol use. For example, a cocaine user may experience periodic heart arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, and seek a doctor's advice for the heart problem, but not for the cocaine use that is causing the difficulty, the primary problem. Denial creates and perpetuates a vicious circle. Since the user denies that he has a problem, he can't go to anyone else to talk about it, and so may use more or to overcome the guilt or anxiety that results from the loss of control of his behavior. As the user becomes further trapped in the circle of remorse, resentment, and blame help externalize the fears but lead to increased alienations. Phase 3, the chronic phase. The final or chronic phase of addiction is typified by a more profound loss of behavioral control and by the physical manifestations that accompany chronic drug or alcohol abuse. In the last phase, the following general symptoms appear and often continue in a vicious circle until the user either dies or finds help. 1. Continuous use of the substance for longer periods. Indefinable fear and vague spiritual desires. Impaired judgment and irrational thinking. Tremors, manipulations, overdoses, decreased tolerance, or other physiological problems associated with the drug. Obsessive use of the substance until recovery or death. Bingers, benders, daily use, and the inability to stop without help are characteristic of this phase. The user engages in prolonged, continuous use and is unable to function without using his drug of choice on some regular basis. The addict neglects his daily needs to the point of not eating or caring for himself. Attempts to control his usage are abandoned as the period of intoxication and recovery encompass most of the user's time. The second and third symptom reflect the loss of ability to function that accompanies brain deteriorations associated with prolonged use of psychoactive drugs and alcohol. She can't think clearly, and you make outlandish claims that are obviously irrational. The addict, for example, you claim and believe that someone broke into the house and took all the cocaine while she was asleep. As the fears increase, the addicts may experience a far yearning for some miracle or divine intervention to stop her from continuing in the downward spiral that is the cause of addictions. The final two symptoms comprise the absolute deterioration of the addict prior to death, especially with the alcohol dependence. The addicts may experience a reverse tolerance in which he once again becomes very intoxicated by a smaller dose of alcohol. This is an indication that the user's system has essentially been saturated with alcohol and cannot process the alcohol quickly enough to remove it from his body. Obsessive use, if unbroken, untimely leads to the death by suicide, homicide, accident, or medical complications. Here, the drug truly takes the person by becoming the solitary focus of the user's lives. He becomes obsessed with using not to get high, but to feel normal and avoid the consequences of withdrawal. Thank you. That is Julima Wellness Consultancy and has seen to share about those phases of drinking. It's very painful, even me, when talking about it, because I have seen a lot of men, a lot of colleagues on my workplace perishing because of such symptoms. It's really painful, and we as community, as society, we have to come out and talk about it and intervene before all is and all is have all will be bad. So, if really we want to help our community out of that drinking, let us not use excuses. These people were drinking or were involved with their addictions because there is no jobs they can do. Even those people who were on big jobs, who were working in big offices, they were perishing of alcohol. So to me, I think it's a problem which have to be dealt with immediately before it goes out of control. These are our brothers, these are our husbands, these are our daughters, these are our mothers, these are our fathers. So what can we do to help them? Let's talk, let's pray that one day it in the whole Africa it will be minimized, because it doesn't mean it's just drinks where you are. It's all over the world, and we have to come out, talk about it, say about it, have money as communities to take those people to rehabs for treatments and pray for them. Let them all not accuse them, because to us that is a disease, and I don't think there's one person who can like to go and drinks and forgot that the following day is going for work. So it's really a disease. Let's not accuse those people. Let's not blame them. Let us bring them so close to us, respect them like anybody. They are human, and by doing that, I know we will influence most of them to stop that habit of alcoholism, of drug abuse. And with those few remarks, I'm Julima Wellness Consultancy in Molela. Molela is in Juja. Juja is in Kiambu, Kenya. East Africa, which is Africa's. Try subscribe to my videos and let's work together and comment about it so that next time I will continue to educate and to share what is in my mind. Thank you. Thank you. I will come again soon. Thank you.